Hello everyone, and welcome to the Config and Tech video for God of War 1. In this video we will be setting up God of War 1, general settings and advanced where needed. This will hopefully put the game in the best playable state it can be. This video is intended for technical advice and education. I will not be providing ROM links of any kind in this video, so don't ask. Start with playthrough information. I have this game on my PS2 and PS3, but I don't have a capture card set up to record it. We'll be covering the PCSX2 version on PC. I'm not going to be covering all of the PCSX2 options, as I want to focus on the specific settings that need adjustment for God of War 1. Keep in mind, I've not played through the game yet using PCSX2. I've only tested the first intro area for playability, so any issues we may encounter in the playthrough I will try to address as they happen. As much as I would rather play this on my PS2 or PS3 for YouTube, I'm not set up to do that at this point in time. Most games will only have minor issues generally. Some wiki information. PCSX2 compatibility. This will show you a list of PS2 games and their compatibility standing with PCSX2. PlayStation 2 Games Wiki. This will allow you to search for a given game's wiki for fixes. And then the God of War 1 Wiki. This will take you directly to the God of War 1 Wiki. All of these links will be in the description of this video. The next category here is program information. PCSX2 main website. You will need to download the PCSX2 program. You'll have the option to download either a stable version or a nightly version. Nightly versions are more up to date, but not fully 100% stable yet. That being said, use the nightly version for the best results. In the case of God of War 1, you will need to get the nightly version. The stable version can't do all the adjustments we need to do. The majority of issues are resolved using the nightly version. I played this on nightly version 1.7.5312. Setup information. Now I would like to cover the issues the game has on PCSX2, at least the ones I know about and the adjustments I made. We'll talk about them here, and then I will show you in PCSX2 the adjustments to make. Understand that these are not my fixes that I devised. I'm basically breaking down the information already provided from the wiki, in the hopes of saving others time from testing and trial and error. So all credit goes to those people and their fixes. Let's give the issues here. So the first one being widescreen. Widescreen setting crops a little off the top and bottom of the screen. I'm still going to be using widescreen because it will look and present better. Using widescreen will not stretch the image either. It is proportionate. Resident Evil 1 Remake on PC does the same thing when using 4:3 versus 16:9, utilizing a zoomed-in crop so it will present in 16:9. The next thing here is hardware, rendering, and upscaling artifacts. You may see vertical lines in the graphics and a green color on the nets of ships at the beginning of the game. I will cover what hardware renderer is in a bit. Using software renderer will fix this, but is not the renderer you want to use. The workaround mentioned on the wiki page only seems to apply to the older versions of PCSX2. I can't find those settings in the newer nightly builds. In my testing, I don't see the lines or the green color. My guess is this has been resolved in the nightly version and just not documented in the known issues section of the wiki. The next issue here is Kratos blinking. Kratos could randomly flash on screen in older versions of PCSX2. It has since been fixed and should not be an issue. I haven't seen this happen in my game. The next one here is Kratos shadow missing. Using hardware renderer could make this shadow disappear. His shadow disappear. This has been addressed in the nightly version, and I have not seen this in my game either. The next is a green tint. An apparent green bloomish tint overlay on the graphics. This has been addressed in the nightly version, and I have not seen this happen in my game either. Then vertical lines across the screen. This has been addressed in the nightly version, and I have not seen this happen in my game. Horizontal lines underwater. The same thing. This has been addressed in the nightly version, and I have not seen this happen in my game. I also have not been in much water either. Not yet. Fog issues. When using hardware renderer in upscaling the resolution, it can make the fog not look correct. From what little fog I have seen in my testing, it seems to be okay. So I'm going to assume that it isn't an issue right now. Misaligned black rectangle at bottom of cutscenes. This is supposed to be fixed in the nightly version, however, I am still having this happen to me in the game. The fix is to not use the progressive scan option in the game settings. This does indeed fix the issue with the cutscenes. The game runs at 480i natively. Using progressive scan bumps that up to 480p, which is better. So it sucks to not be able to use the option. The good thing is that within PCSX2, you can upscale the resolution, which you should be doing anyway, either using a 1080p or 4K upscaling option. So you end up making up for not being able to use progressive scan in the game settings. Missing audio and cutscenes. Seems to be fixed in nightly version. I have not seen this happen so far. It should be pretty obvious if this is an issue or not. So with that all out of the way, let's go in to PCSX2 briefly, and I will visually show you what we've discussed. And that's what this is over here. That's why I don't have a folder open this time, because there's not really any game install files, and PCSX2, there's nothing we're really going to modify manually within the folder. But this is how it will look. I've added just the one game in here, and I'm zoomed really far into it just so it's big on the screen here. But you can apply a title and an image to the game, so when you just double click on this, it would start the game. So we're going to go to System here in Settings. So this will be your main settings screen. You'll have Interface, Game List, BIOS, Emulation, Graphics, Audio, Memory Cards, Network and Hard Drive, Folders, and Achievements. These are all categories with all individual settings represented in each category. I'm not going to go down and cover every single setting within the whole program, but I do advise you on a new install to take a look at everything and at least make attempts to adjust things yourself or learn about things you need to adjust, because right out of the box you do need to adjust some stuff to get the best performance and outcome of the game that you're playing. But the main categories I want to cover in this is interface and graphics. So we're already on interface. Just a few little checkboxes in here that you should consider using. Confirm shutdown is a good box to have checked. I think it is by default. But in case you try to close out of PCSX2, it'll give you a little, it'll stop and pause the game, but then it'll give you a little pop-up box where you can confirm or X out of. So it's kind of a, a safety measure in case you accidentally close out and didn't mean to. You might want to do start full screen, so when you run the game immediately it goes into full screen mode. Also using double click toggling full screen so that you can double click on the screen at any time to go from windowed to full screen mode. And hide cursor in full screen mode is a good idea. Although in my experience here in the testing I've done for this video, the cursor doesn't really hide itself very good or at all. It doesn't seem to be reliable for whatever reason, but go ahead and check it. If not, just drag your cursor down to the bottom right of the screen. You can adjust themes. There's color themes. There's a lot of color options. I just particularly like dark themes. And then update channel. If you've downloaded the nightly build, which you should have, make sure you're on the nightly channel. And you can see the version here that I'm using. And just today, just actually a moment ago, when I was opening this up to record, I got another update. So it's extremely an updated program, so it's always being, updated and added. Fixing is always being done. But you can see my version. You can manually check for updates. That's pretty much all there. So graphics will be the main meat of this here. So here's where you get to pick your renderer that you use. And if you click the drop down, you're going to have a large assortment of options here. Automatic default, DirectX 11, DirectX 12, OpenGL, Vulkan, software, and null, meaning nothing, I guess. So I don't know what automatic actually defaults to. I'm choosing to use DirectX 11. 12 may work, and it may work slightly better, but I think 11 will be good enough and probably more reliable in its functionality. If all things go worse or DirectX gives you a problem, then you can try switching to OpenGL, and then from there you can try to go to software, but software mode is not going to net you very good functionality as opposed to what they call hardware modes. Vulkan is also very good too. It's just still pretty new, so DirectX 11 is pretty, tried and tested, so I advise to use DirectX 11. And the adapter will just dictate what graphics card you're using, so that's my graphics card. Whatever you got, make sure that's selected. Not the other one, but pick your actual card. And then you're going to be defaulted here on a display tab. This is where you pick your resolution and frame rate that you want to go with. This is what I'm recording in. Aspect ratio of the game and aspect ratio of full motion video or cutscenes. And these you want to set both to 16:9. Keep in mind too, this is not always the case for every game that you play through PCSX2, just for the case of God of War 1. Deinterlacing, bilinear filtering, screenshot size is all defaulted. I didn't change any of this. I did switch from PNG to JPEGs. Not that it matters, but vertical stretch I left alone, cropping is left alone. I think these might have actually said default instead of 0 px or pixels just because I was messing with them. And it won't let me go back to, I think, default now, just 0. Just make sure they're all on 0. And then out of these 8 checkboxes here, anti-blur, as you can see down there, it says enables internal anti-blur hacks less accurate to PlayStation 2 rendering, but will make a lot of games look less blurry, which is always a good thing, especially with PlayStation 2 games, as a lot, if not most of those games tended to look really blurry. And I always advise to use VSync, enable this option to match PCXS to refresh rate with your current monitor or screen. VSync is automatically disabled when it is not possible, e.g. running at non-100% speed, I guess. It gives you a recommendation value for all these settings, but it's not always the best option. But in VSync only really applies if you're not using a what they call G-Sync screen or monitor, which I don't have experience with, but I know that G-Sync monitors basically apply auto VSync within, at the monitor level. So that means you don't have to do it at the software level. But without that, I always do use VSync because I don't like pushing my graphics card harder than it needs to be by, allowing it to get 800 frame rate FPS if it can, when it only needs 60 or whatever. Plus, the negative side of not using VSync and matching your frame rate to your refresh rate, the hertz of your screen, is you will get a effect in gaming called screen tearing. If you don't know what screen tearing is, I would recommend that you look that up on Wikipedia. There's a Wikipedia page devoted just to what screen tearing is. That way I won't have to go into all the detail with it. But I hate screen tearing. It just degrades the graphic quality, so I use VSync to avoid that as well. The other negative a lot of people will say in using VSync is that it can result in giving you input lag, meaning inputs pressed on your mouse, keyboard, or game pad could be perceived as delayed. And this may be true and could very well be true. And I could see from a speedrunning perspective or something how that might be more important to you than having screen tearing in your image. But I'm not speedrunning, so all these other things don't mess with. I would advise leave them unchecked. Then the next category is rendering. Here we want to switch to. Here you'll have the internal resolution, and this is where you can upscale, basically. Control the resolution at which games are rendered. High resolutions can impact performance on older or lower-end GPUs. Non-native resolution may cause minor graphical glitches in some games. FMV resolution will remain unchanged as the game files are pre-rendered. So, that being said, though, with that, FMVs is pre-rendered FMVs or cutscenes in PlayStation 2 era games tended to look way cleaner and way better anyway than the actual gameplay does. So, it's not going to be a huge deal breaker that you can't upscale them. It'd be nice if you could, but you can't. If you want just regular, old school, the way it looked on the PlayStation 2, pick native default, but you're going to get a lesser graphical quality of clearness and clarity. You're going to get more blur to the image because that's how they looked on the PlayStation 2. And then you have the options to go to 720p, which is 2 times, 1080p 3 times, 2K 4 times, 4K 6 times, all the way up to 5K resolution 8 times the native. Technically, I probably could get away with using 6 times, and it might give the videos, I thought about doing it, a little extra quality, but I'm going to stick with just 1080p. So I'm going to be upscaling the internal resolution 3 times that of the native PlayStation 2 resolution, so 3 times the clarity. MIP mapping I've left on default, texture filtering default, trilinear filtering I've left on default, anisotropic filtering I think that was off completely. I did put that on 16x. That's not going to cause you any problems at all, and if anything it will slightly improve graphic quality. Dithering, blending, accuracy I've left on default. Texture preloading all on default, and these are unchecked. So I only really messed with the internal resolution and anisotropic filtering. Everything else I left alone. Texture replacement, I didn't do anything in here. This is a way, I guess, a means of replacing textures somehow. Post-processing, I didn't do anything here. And since FXAA is the only option, really, I wouldn't advise to be using that either. Just because FXAA is not very good. On-screen display, OSD. I did turn off show OSD messages, just so any messages of like quick saving or starting and stopping the game won't appear on the screen. That's how you turn them on or off. But it may affect every single message, so if you want to see some things and not others, you may still need to leave it on. You can also choose to show your FPS or frame rate. If you don't have a means of doing that, you can do it through the PCSX2 and other things on here. Yeah, I didn't change anything else except unchecking show OSD messages. You can even change the scaling of the text, how large it is on the screen. Recording, I didn't mess with anything in here. Apparently you can record through PCSX2, which is cool, but I'm using my own recording software. And then advanced, nothing in here. I didn't mess with anything. And I don't have anything else really to cover in here regarding PCSX2. So, close out of the settings, back to this, and that should cover that. So now I want to get into the actual game's options themselves. So we'll cover the in-game settings, explaining and showing how to configure them. There's not a whole bunch of them. So the first option you'll have in the game is widescreen, and you do want to put this on. The next option is progressive scan to avoid the black rectangles on cutscenes. In the cutscenes, I do recommend to turn this off. You could try yourself to do everything I've showed you to do and put progressive scan on in the game, and then test the first opening cutscene, because you'll see it occur in there if it's going to. And if it doesn't, then you're one of the lucky ones and you can use progressive scan. But like I said, since you're already upscaling through the PCSX2, it's not going to be that big a deal. So, but I need to leave it off in my case, because on I do get the box. Soften is your next option. Off, I recommend, but it's your preference. It blurs the edges of textures to try and hide the aliasing that the game has. I don't like blur in general, and especially to act as an anti-aliasing method. So it may be a little more jaggy, but I'd rather have a cleaner image. Then you have music volume, 100%. It may need to be lowered for recording purposes. It all depends. Sound effects, SFX volume, 100%. Sound mode, put that on surround. There's no reason to not select surround. And then controller display, it displays your controller key bindings. And we'll cover those when we are in the gameplay video. And then vibration on. Kratos says no, but I say yes. So turn that on. So in the next video, we'll get into the gameplay. We'll finish this video by going into the game, so you can see a visual representation of the options that I just talked about here. A quick edit cut here, and I will see you there. Bye. Hello everyone. Welcome to the in-game configuration technical portion of God of War 1. So I wanted to cover the options here. So here's all the options that we discussed. And widescreen, you can see when you do it, it changes. These are just all the settings and how I'm configuring them for the playthrough. Here's the control display. We'll go over this as I stated in the gameplay video. But these are what the controls look like if you want to take a screenshot for your own information. And that's roughly it. Not much more to discuss here on the options. I just wanted to give you a visual representation of what they look like. So thank you very much for watching the Config and Tech video, and we will see you in the gameplay video in the next part. Thank you very much. Bye.